Hello, my name's Kia and I'm very excited about the video that I'm going to do today because I'm going to show you how to make one of these. It's a hairband. Sorry, I just caught my hair a lot. A hairband. I did not make this, just to get that out there. I bought this from H&M, but I got the inspiration to make my own because I just thought this actually looks really doable, you know what I mean? And you can use any fabric that you happen to have that you really like. You can just turn it into a hairband and then you get to wear your pretty fabric all the time, which is great. So the fabric that I'm going to use today is this, which I just think is absolutely beautiful. I'm completely obsessed with it. I bought it, it's actually a dress. You can't really see any of the dress parts, but anyway, trust me, it's a dress. And I bought it for £10 in the sale in Topshop in January. But when I got it, I got so excited about the print that I didn't try it on. And then when I got it home, it doesn't suit me at all. I did also buy a skirt in the same sale, also for £10 in the same print, and that fits absolutely perfectly. So what I thought I would do with this dress is make other things out of it and see if I can make some stuff that will go along with the skirt and just look really pretty and nice. So the first thing that I'm going to do with that is make a hairband, and I'll show you how to do it, and hopefully it will be useful and you'll be able to use up pretty fabric of your own from clothes that you don't wear or fabric you have lying around. I don't know. Anyway, I hope you enjoy.
So this is what I used. I've got my fabric, I've got pins, scissors, fabric glue, hairband, measuring tape, sewing machine, and very importantly, some coffee. I'm definitely not like an expert sewer or of any kind. I just love it, so I thought I'd share this. So you can see how I made it. Maybe you do things differently, that's absolutely fine. I think it's probably possible to do it without sewing as well, but this is how I did it. So my first step, obviously, was to cut the fabric. My dress actually had little panels, so I just cut one of those panels out and decided to work with that. It was about, I think probably about 25 to 30 inches long, and I decided to work with almost the entire length of it just because I had it, but you don't need that much fabric. I think you probably don't even need 20 inches, to be honest. You just need to make sure that the fabric's going to go over the length of the hairband with a knot tied in it and enough fabric to put over the ends, to fold over the ends. I'm just measuring out 6 inches wide here. You don't want the fabric to be too wide, otherwise it will be really difficult to fold over at the ends of the hairbands. So it's really important not to let it be too wide, and I think 6 inches is perfect. Because you get enough fabric to work with to make it nice and sort of boofy and pretty, but not too much that it's going to get really bulky at the ends. So I'm just sewing it together into like a tube, because that's going to mean that the inside of the fabric won't be visible at all, and guarantee that there won't be any of the uglier side of the fabric visible. So that's something that you could probably do with glue if you wanted to. But I decided that I was going to sew it just to make sure it was nice and secure and easy to deal with. So now I am just going to do the knot, and I'm going to tie it in a really weird way because I was trying to make it look obvious what I was doing, and it just looks like I don't know how to tie a knot. But it's really simple. You just tie a normal knot in the middle of the fabric, make it reasonably loose, so that you can rearrange things. There is one thing that you need to be careful to do, which is to make sure that if you have sewed it, you need to put the seams on the inside of the knot. So when you tie the knot, you'll see that there's one flat side and one knotted side, and you want to make sure that the seams are on the same side as the flat side. Because then that means that the seams aren't going to be visible when you put the hairband on. It's all going to look nice and smooth. So I'm just rearranging the knot there just to make it look nice, make sure it's all pretty. And now what I'm going to do is flip it over. So this is the flat side of the knot with the seams on each length. And now I'm going to put the hairband through the knot. So really simple. Just thread it through basically. And then tighten the knot a little bit just to keep it reasonably in place, make it look however you want, give it a nice rearrange. Now what I'm doing is I'm just going to pin the hairband, the fabric in place onto the hairband. If you are using a plastic hairband, you will probably have to use glue at this stage. But I'm using one that has like a very thin bit of satin on it, so I just pinned through the satin, and it meant that I didn't have to commit quite as soon. And now I'm just going to cut the right amount of fabric off, so you can see obviously I'm left with absolutely loads of fabric. You definitely don't need as much fabric as I used, but I just wanted to use as much as that just to be safe. Now what I'm doing is I am just practicing the fold and pinning it into place. I am going to show the fold a lot more clearly later in the video. This is basically so that I know where everything is before I start gluing. One thing to be aware of with that is that it looks really difficult to do, and it's really awkward to get the pins in, but as soon as you start using glue, it isn't going to be difficult at all. It's actually really, really easy because fabric glue, unsurprisingly, is actually quite effective. Now what I'm doing is putting a little bit of extra fabric in the knot just to bulk it up a little bit. I think this is just quite a sensible thing to do, because as the knot gets wet or gets used to where it's sitting, the fabric will start to relax and to sag a bit. So this just essentially means that the knot is always going to be nice and prominent and obvious looking. So this is where I just decided to try and show you more obviously what the fold at the end of the hairband is going to look like. It is actually quite simple, really. It's kind of like wrapping a present. So you fold it over the end, and then rather than just doing a straight fold across, what you do is you take the corner and then you pull it over in the centre. So if you can, you can kind of just see so it comes over and then it comes through into the centre, and that's where you're going to pin it, and later on obviously glue it. It does look quite bulky, but you will be surprised by how well it sits with the fabric glue. Obviously I think that probably does depend on what kind of fabric you use. I don't really know that much about different types of fabric, but this fabric, it worked really, really well. It glued really easily, and it's very, very secure. So what I'm doing now is just making sure that the knot is in the centre of everything, and I'm going to glue it. So this was really easy. Just pulled the flat part of the knot back a little bit, dumped the glue onto the hairband, and then placed it back on. Used a fair amount of glue, so that once it's dry, it's going to be really nice and secure. So I left it to dry for a few minutes, and now I'm going to come back and I'm going to get started on gluing the ends together. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to do one dot of glue on either end of the hairband, and then I'm going to stick the end of the fabric to it. Do it quite nice and low down, because then that will mean that the glue, the bit where the glue is going to be covered up quite nicely. If you are doing this without a sewing machine, by the way, there is a bit later on where you'll need to use ribbon, because you won't be able to make the fabric look nice enough to use it to cover up the ends. I should have mentioned that earlier on, but if you are doing it without a sewing machine, this part this part will need to be covered up by ribbon of a similar colour. Unless you are like a glue genius and you know how to make seams using fabric glue, in which case, I mean, I don't know why you're watching this video, because you're clearly better at this than me. So I'm just using bulldog clips to secure it, just because I wanted to make sure that it really was very secure. I didn't want fabric popping off at any point or anything like that. And I'm just going to leave it again after I've done this for a couple more minutes. And I'm back again. That was quick. And I'm going to remove the bulldog clips. And now what I'm going to do is show you the fold in a little bit closer up. So there you can see it comes over, sort of over and then under kind of thing. Very much like wrapping a present. And then that also gives you the nice sides where you know you're going to get the really nice sort of creases on the headband that make it look so pretty, like this style of headband. So there you go, first bit of glue. I am gluing and drying in between every single application of glue, so I'm not going to do like the next bit and then glue it. I'm going to let the glue dry in between. I think that's really important to getting like a secure glue, if that makes sense. And then I'm going to do the next one on the other side. Oh yeah, I realised I still had way too much fabric on this. I was very scared of cutting the fabric, it has to be said. But yes, so if you do end up with excess fabric, you really don't want too much folded over the side of the hairband, because like I said, this is going to make it really bulky. So yeah, so I'm just cutting a bit more off. And I'm going to repeat that fold. I was wrestling with it here because the bulldog clip kept getting in the way on the other side and making it really difficult to deal with. So that hence all of this fiddling around. But I got there eventually and I'm gluing it now. So now I'm going to wait for those two to dry. Right, and now those two folds are dry, it's time to do the last fold. Just exactly the same, just doing the nice sort of gift wrap fold that I did previously, but just on the second side. And yeah, this is the bit where I really thought that the fabric glue was not going to be able to sort of cut it because it was just so bulky, but it really is impressive stuff, and it worked really well. It kind of glued it all together, so that was good. Now that one's in place, I'm happy with it. I'm going to do the other side, and then that'll be it for the first aspect of this. I think if you wanted to, you probably could leave it like this, but I would be concerned that those bits will get caught in your hair, so I really wouldn't recommend it. I definitely think that you want to finish this with either another small length of fabric or with a ribbon, which I will show you how I did that in a second. Right, so now that those two bits are dry, it's time to do the finishing touches. I'm just showing you the fold again so that you can see how nicely it's stuck in it. I was really impressed at this point. I thought it looked really, really good. I was a bit like, I can't believe this has worked, but I think in the future I'm definitely going to trust the skills of fabric glue. So here what I'm doing is I'm just cutting a very slim length, probably about 1 inch of fabric from the length of fabric that I cut from the dress. I am cheating a little bit because obviously there is already a hem on this. It means I only need to hem one side to create this kind of makeshift ribbony type thing. So this is what I'm doing. I'm basically just going to wrap it around the ends of the hairband to seal it in. So I'm just ironing a small crease so that I can create a hem on the other side. You really don't need very much fabric, as you can see. That's like 5 inches, I think, maybe less than that. Yeah, I definitely did all of this by eye, by the way. But yeah, so you definitely don't need very much to do this, and it is definitely possible to do it with a ribbon if you want to. So all I'm doing is wrapping this piece of fabric around the ends of the hairband. I'm going to glue it in place. And what it's going to do is, make sure that all of the foldy bits are covered up. They're not going to get caught in your hair. It's not going to get bashed around or anything like that. When you do this, which is something that I didn't think of doing at this point, make sure that you fold it over, or actually measure how much you need and create a seam, because on the first one that I did end up with a bit of frayed fabric being visible, and I had to go back in with the glue and kind of stick it back inside. I think it probably would be a much better idea to measure how much you actually need of this fabric and create two very small little rectangular strips to stick on. In hindsight, I'd definitely do that instead. But this did work eventually. Clearly the ones of fabric glue, and sticking it like this basically just ensures that it's going to be a really nice secure dry when it's glued, using that bulldog clip to stick it all together. So you can see here, the mistake that I made with not using a hemmed piece of fabric, because now I'm going to have to cut it there and it's just going to fray immediately. Such a rookie mistake. Yep, you can see me realising. So for this next one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work out how much I actually need, wrap it around, and then I'm going to fold it in on itself to ensure that the frayed edge isn't visible. It is quite fiddly, but it's one of those things where it's like, it looks really fiddly and messy, but actually as long as you just do it, it happens. I think it would be quite, it's not like you can like glue the wrong bit or do it upside down or something like that. It just requires a little bit of sort of careful handling kind of thing. There you go, so you can see it folding it over in on itself, and you end up with a nice clean line there. Oh, and yeah, that's the other thing, is using the bulldog clip to actually push the seams together. Will use like the strength of the bulldog clip much more effectively than if you just shove it on. Trying to use it as like a pinch along whatever seam it is you've just glued. That seemed to work much better for me than just like shoving the bulldog clip on wherever. So that's that. I'm going to leave it to dry and I will be back to show you how it ended up looking. Hello again, it's ready. Look, it turned out so well. The little knot and this bit, actually, I was a bit worried, but they actually look really good and they're quite solid. Like putting it in and out of my hair, it doesn't pull these apart at all, which I kind of was expecting. I thought it might just fall apart, because this fabric is really much more difficult to work with than the stuff that I practiced with. But it turned out, look at it. Put it back on. Ah. Yay. I'm really, really happy with it. Obviously it doesn't look quite as good as the one that I got from H&M, but I mean, that was to be expected. I'm still really, really happy with it. And now I have another hairband to add to my hairband collection. Yay. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you give it a try, let me know how you get on. Bye.